3, 2, 1. The pads are popping, the whistles are blowing, and the trash talk is flying. Boy, oh boy, is it great to be back at Ohio State training camp practices. Welcome to a Boren Blitz on the Beat presented by the Waterworks. That is former Ohio State captain Zach Boren. I am Austin Ward, fresh off of 3 days of Ohio State practices. We've been waiting months, Zach. We finally have some new stuff to break down, and the Buckeyes always give us so much to talk about.
Silver Bullets are back in action, Austin, and it's great to see. Pads were on Saturday, have another huge week of practice this week, man. It's football season's officially back, and it's awesome to see.
So Saturday got a little chippy. Even Julian Sayin used that word because you see some of the first time the pads come on, you haven't been hit in a while. Even teammates, even the brotherhood, you might occasionally throw a little extra punch, maybe some words that you wouldn't say normally. That's standard protocol, right, Zach? That's nothing bad.
That's what makes training camp fun. Right? Like once the season starts, you can't really be fighting and being chippy in practice. It doesn't work that way. So training camp's where you start building that toughness, man. You start lining guys up. You understand, hey, when we go down to Austin and we're getting in a backyard brawl, who do I want on my team? That's when you find out right then. And that's when the locker room's built, right? Like tensions get high. When there's competition like that and things get chippy, you bring out the best in everyone, and you truly see the coaches see it too. Coaches will say they hate fighting in training camp, and yeah, they probably do because they don't want injuries. But there's a part of them in the back of their mind that they actually love to see it because they know, hey, who's going to be there in the middle of a game when things are chippy? Who can I look at? And when I know something's going on, that dude's got, snot coming out of his nose and saliva coming out of his mouth like a freaking rabid dog ready to go, So like you learn who those guys are in training camp. And obviously those are the guys you want out on the field. And so it's always going to be chippy, man. Like, obviously first day in pads, you said it. And there's a difference between first time in pads in spring practice and first time in pads in fall, right? Because spring, you're like, well, all right, I'm getting ready for a spring game. Fall, first time in pads, you're like, oh boy, here we go. We're getting ready for the next, you hope, next 5 months, 5.5 months, right? Yep. And yeah, man, I remember there were so many times where there were fights, there were battles in training camp and practice. And then guess what? You go in the locker room afterwards and everyone's singing Kumbaya and laughing and having fun. And then the next day, Austin, guess what? It happens again.
Or maybe they turn on some Rihanna. Who knows?
There you go.
All right. So the competitions and the jobs that are up for grabs, that's already now underway. There's that sense of urgency. From those first handful of practices, Zach, what did you think was the, most interesting development for the Buckeyes so far?
I mean, there's a couple out there. I think the main one is you have to look at the running back room, right? And when the first team offense trotted out, you have Isaiah West running out there and not Bo Jackson. I think everyone thought Bo was going to be the guy. Let's be honest, Austin, like you look at Isaiah West when he's ran out there at practice and you see what he's done this offseason and putting in the work. The dude looks legit. And here's the other thing. When he went out there last year and had the opportunities that he had, he really performed. He had good vision. He had the burst. He could do different things. Not that different guys that have ran out different positions. Not that I wouldn't put weight on it, but this one just feels a little bit different, Austin. And maybe you can shed some light too. Yeah. But it just feels like, you could bring up like, Jermaine Matthews running out with the second team defense on day one. I wouldn't read much into that. You can you can look at some of the moving around with the offensive line. Don't look that too much into it. Just this one feels different between Isaiah and Bo. And I'm not sure why. Maybe it's because, Ryan was talking about how good of an offseason Isaiah West had. You look at, Isaiah West and the work that he's put in. I mean, I think there's some real rumblings that Isaiah West could be running out with the first team offense come September 5th.
Yeah, I think, Zach, the smoke was there. You think back to a couple weeks ago, uh, I sat down with Brandon Ennis. We had an interview with him on the beat with television's Adam King, and the name that he mentions, like, who's somebody who stood out to you? This is a captain that we're talking to, and Brandon Ennis, returning captain, veteran, and he said Isaiah West has had a phenomenal summer. He's on the leadership council. Those are two things that matter a lot in the Woody, and you know that, Zach. So that's the smoke. Okay. Then you see the actual fire, which is Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, Isaiah West getting those reps with the ones. And I know that multiple backs are going to need to play for this team. But this is not a one-guy bell cow scenario, and Isaiah West is here and Bo Jackson has no role on this team. I know that's not the case. And Jacoby Jackson's going to have a role in this backfield as well. But and by Friday or Saturday of this week, the roles could be reversed, and maybe Bo takes on this challenge and has a phenomenal week of practice, and then he gets these different opportunities. But Ohio State, Carlos Lachlan, Ryan Day, they don't do this by accident. They don't flip a coin and say, you go out there with the ones on this day, and we'll just see how it goes. Like, it is all done very intentionally. So if you add in what Isaiah West has done in the summer workouts, the clear value that his teammates see in him bringing, with that leadership group and speaking up and having a voice, there's that trust factor that's built in there. Which is, again, not to say that Bo Jackson can't do that or won't do that, but Isaiah West already has and is in position now to really capitalize on that with some of these reps moving forward. And there's another part of it that, Ryan Day and some other folks mentioned to me, Zach, which is that the injury that Isaiah West had dealt with, was not just something that happened last season. It was a carryover, from the end of his high school career, and that it took a long time to get fully recovered from that. So even what we saw with the limited opportunities that he had as a true freshman was still not the best version of Isaiah West. I think the way he's moving right now, the cuts, the top end speed, there's still a long way to go. He hasn't been taken to the ground yet. He was knocked to the ground by Edric Houston on Saturday, but not tackling him yet. It's not live bullets. It's not September 5th. It's definitely not September 12th. Is he going to be able to handle all that? We'll see, but he certainly looks the part, and everybody else is talking about what they've seen over the previous couple of months. All those pieces fit together and say, like, the arrow is certainly trending up for Isaiah West right now.
Yeah, and I love what you said of things can change rapidly in training camp, right? Yeah. We could be having a completely different conversation next week based off of, the 6 practices that are going to transpire next week. And so it's so interesting, but to your point, there's a lot of smoke there. And normally where there's a lot of smoke, there's some fire. And I think Isaiah West has earned the opportunity to run out there with the ones. I think Isaiah West, his ceiling is, there's still so much more there. And you touched on it as well, how Ryan said his injury, he wasn't 100% last year. I think everyone in Buckeye Nation and in the Woody Hayes would tell you, like, for a true freshman, they were very impressed and very pleased with what Isaiah West put on the field. So to know there's even way more upside from that, his body looks different. He's way healthier this year. Like, it could be a special season for him. But also, like you mentioned this as well, Austin, I don't know the last time Ohio State truly had a one-man bell cow kind of show, right? It's been a long time. And so it's not going to be that way this year. There's going to be multiple backs in the backfield, and they got to rely on all those guys to step up.
Yeah, they will. I can tell you for sure it was also super hot out there over the last couple of days. Keep your home ready for any weather with the Waterworks and Header Energy Savings Plan. Get priority heating service, members-only savings, and continuous comfort all year long. Call today to schedule. It's the Waterworks and Header. 614-232-2222. The last couple of weeks, Zach, we have talked about what the wide receiver rotation is going to look like. Devin McEwen is going to be near the top of it. I'll tell you right now, I'm going to take the words out of your mouth for the next thing that's of note. This is important to have that compliment for Jeremiah Smith out there and take some pressure off of his shoulders, Brandon Ennis' shoulders. Man, was he one of the most impressive guys over the last couple of days.
There are a couple of names that have come out of the Woody Hayes throughout the first 3 practices of training camp. Devin McEwen is one of them. And I think what he is doing, what he's done so far. Now, again, Austin, we're 3 days in. So let's pump the brakes a little bit. But
no, that's no fun.
I know. But if 3 days in carries a lot of weight, Devin McEwen is going to have a monster season. He is a guy who has taken off, has flashed so much in training camp. We talked about it leading up to it. Like, who is going to be the guy to complement Jeremiah Smith? Jeremiah Smith is going to get doubled on every single play. And if the defense doesn't, well, he's probably going to be scoring a touchdown, right? So to see Devin McEwen come on the way that he has and the explosiveness that he can bring to this offense, he could have a monster season. Now, I'm not saying Carnell Tate numbers, Austin.
Yeah.
But it could be, right? Like I don't want people to start making the comparison that, he's the Robin to Jeremiah being Batman. But this is a dude who's going to bring a different feel to this offense, right? He's way more of a slot guy than Carnell was. He's going to be able to do a lot of different things. Like JSN could be able to be put in different situations, but he even has a way more different skill set than JSN from that standpoint. So it's going to be so interesting to see what they can do. He reminds me so much of like that Urban Meyer style of receiver, almost like a Paris Campbell, right? Like that's who Devin McEwen almost reminds me of.
That's a good comparison. And I think there's even a little bit more to his game where I would have thought everything you said about his slot skills, maybe not the tallest wide receiver that you're ever going to find that would say you're not going to use him outside. We've seen him running those deep routes and lining up in a traditional outside wide receiver position and winning reps, including a really impressive touchdown catch from Julian Sand and great coverage from Dominic Kelly on that play, by the way, on Friday as well. Like he's doing those things. And if you have that perimeter threat that's going to occupy attention and maybe give teams something to think twice about if and when they're doubling Jeremiah Smith, which to your point is going to be most of the time, if not all of it, that's going to create opportunities for not just Devin McEwen, but also Brandon Ennis operating some in the slot. It's going to take attention away from, loading the box and stopping Isaiah West or Bo Jackson. It's going to give Nate Roberts maybe some more free reign over the middle of the field. Like that's a critical component of this offense. It feels like we're talking about a luxury scenario, but Ohio State can't just rely on Jeremiah winning against double and triple coverage. That's not a strategy. The next guys up, the second, the third, even the fourth wide receiver, with Brock Boyd making a ton of ridiculous catches again over the first couple of days. Chris Henry Jr. looking, really different physically than he did in spring. That's all going to help the overall offense. You can't just let Jeremiah win you games. He needs help, I think, and Jeremiah would be the first to tell you that.
Yeah, and you brought up two true freshmen that we think the world of, but it's not even to mention like Kyle Parker. Like, is he, what's he going to do as camp comes on, and where's he kind of fit in? You brought up Brandon Ennis, who obviously everyone's looking at it having a monster season this year. So like you package all those guys together and how they're able to complement this offense and really, I hate to say it, take attention away from Jeremiah Smith, because if defenses have to respect those guys and what they're able to bring in the explosiveness and the playmaking ability, like they have to come off Jeremiah Smith, right? And so the more developed those guys get, the more they can bring to this offense, just the more dangerous it is. And here's the thing, Austin, when you've got those guys on the outside and you got Jeremiah Smith, you brought it up too, like now you've got more of an empty box. Right. Yep. And now guess what? You can sit there and run the football. And I think, everyone's talking about Julian Sane and the way that he's really coming on and has kind of turned the page on being even more developed this year than he was last year. We obviously have talked about the wide receivers, but Austin, less guys in the box is going to help this offensive line. Now, who knows how that shakes out? But it's also be able to feed the running game. And we might be able to see that this year, whereas hey, the running game sets the tone for this team, because then it's going to free up all those other guys on the outside.
Yeah. All right. Well, who else is on your list of standouts from the first couple days?
James Smith, man,
Woo!
I have heard so much about him, and obviously we talked about him last week and the way that his body has just transformed in the offseason, which is crazy. I mean, he looks like a dude, and from everything that I've heard, that the guy's just nasty, man. He's a big dude. He's strong. He plugs up the middle of that defensive line, and he's just disruptive in this defense, especially with new linebackers in. New linebackers, their best friend are big uglies up front that freaking control blocks, and so those offensive linemen can't combo up to the second level and be in your face, right? Like, as a linebacker, what do you want? You want space and you want visibility. The more those guys are in your face, the harder your job is. And so when you got a guy like James Smith in front of you, who almost looks like two humans side by side, right? Like,
that's crazy, man.
That is the best thing for Peyton Pierce, for Christian Alliegro, for Alford, for Pettijohn, like whoever's going in there. It is the best thing for them. And I have heard James Smith has just been super disruptive. Obviously, you know, we could talk about Edric Houston. He had a monster day on Saturday as well, which is awesome to see. But just from a newcomer standpoint, new face, like obviously everyone knows what Edric can do. Mm-hmm. But James Smith has just brought a different dynamic to this defense where it's just a big dude in the middle. Almost reminds me, now this is a blast from the past, and I absolutely love this dude. Reminds me of Jonathan Hankins.
Interesting that you bring that name up, Zach, because guess who's been shadowing Larry Johnson, maybe considering a coaching career down the road and potentially even returning to Ohio State one day? It's Big Time Hank.
They call him AKA Big Hank. He's back. Big Hank's back, man. Dude, that's who James Smith reminds me of. Big Hank was disruptive. He, oh my God, controlled the line of scrimmage. That's what James Smith does. And I know that's what Matt Patricia in this defense is playing on him. He's like from a college level with Matt Patricia, he's Vince Wilfork. Like that's who he was in Patricia's defense when he was in New England for such a long time, right? So it's like now obviously Vince Wilfork's a Hall of Famer, one of the best defense linemen. So I don't want to put that kind of pressure on James Smith. I'm just saying, like, if people want a visual of how they are going to use James Smith, it's that Vince Wilfork line up, be disruptive, take on blockers, like hold space. Like he's that kind of player, which helps a defense. When people watch film and actually understand football, that's the position that doesn't have all the accolades, doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but you watch film, you're like, we would not be able to do what we do without that guy.
Right. And that's what Caden McDonald provided a year ago. Like, everything was built out around what he did. And those shoes are, I want to put it the right way. When you lose a Sonny Styles and a Caleb Downs, that's obviously a huge deal. But trying to fill the void of what Caden McDonald did a year ago is not easy, and it's very meaningful for what Matt Patricia and Larry Johnson are trying to do overall. So if James Smith and Edric Houston are ready to do that together, and by the way, there's been a lot of rotation there with John Walker and Will Smith Jr. as well. If those four are all capable of giving you 100% of what Caden McDonald did, matching that production without one man having to do it all, which I think you could tell that K-Mac wore down a little bit physically by the end of last year, boy, what a luxury that becomes for Ohio State. And what doors does that open up for Matt Patricia everywhere else? Because you're talking about linebackers needing that clear picture. If they don't ever have to worry about that, the amount of playbook, and you can explain this and understand it far better than I ever could. The things that Matt Patricia might be able to get to with his coverages, with his blitz schemes, with anything else, if he doesn't have to worry at all about what's going to happen at those two positions, or sometimes one position at defensive tackle or nose guard, I mean, that the world becomes his oyster.
Well, that's why I brought it up, because what people don't understand is when you have big dudes up front, and you know this, I love Caden McDonald. I've loved him for a long time. And the comparison to Jonathan Hankins was no slight to him. I just think they're a little bit of a different player. But when you have, that goes to my point previously, when you have a big dude in the middle who takes up space, takes up offensive linemen every single time. Like, he's going to demand two guys on him just from a pure size standpoint. It frees up the box for the linebackers. And so, to your point, it frees up the entire defense. Like, that's what people don't understand. And that's what I was making the point to my comment earlier of, now guess what? You don't need to have Caleb Downs inside the box, right? As in Earl Little or whoever they want to put in the box. Like, now you're able to do more things with coverage on the outside, knowing, hey, I can probably play with a 6-man box on the inside, because guess what? I know my linebackers aren't going to get touched with the way my defensive tackles are playing and they're taking on those blocks. And so to your point, you give Matt Patricia more freedom to be able to do different things and show different looks. That can be scary, man. That dude's like the crazy wizard, right? Like, if he's able to do those things and be able to show 6-man boxes, 5-man boxes, right? And then even go in there and be like, okay, screw it, we're going to show a 7-man box. Like, the offense is going to have no idea when they come up and pre-snap. Like, that's where everything happens, pre-snap. So when they come up and they see different people in the box and it's not the same defense every single time, like, it's hard for them to make those checks. It's hard for a college quarterback to understand, like, okay, what should I be looking at? What are they giving me? Like, pre-snap is where they teach you all the things in college of, you are going to recognize what you're getting in pre-snap reads.
Yeah, it is so great to be getting that ball conversation going again, Zach. The practice is back, training camp well underway, intensity ticking up every single day, and I'm fired up to start this week, as always, with a Bourne Blitz to get that insight and knowledge from you.
Austin, one thing. Come on, we can't. Football season has started. You know, my favorite thing is one hot take. Give everyone one hot take of a name that they're like, whoa, like, where did that come from? That person has stood out day one. Just give us one hot take. One name.
Jay Timmons. It's Jay Timmons. I think you're gonna. If you say hot, I think he's probably gonna start at nickel on day one, and that's a crazy thing for a true freshman to do. And then again, you know, it's a hot take. It's a bold prediction. It's whatever.
That's what we like on this show. That's why people watch.
I know. There's still, but I want to make sure the caveats out there. You know, Terry Moore still has a chance to get right back in that mix. There have been different configurations with Jermaine Matthews playing at the nickel, but as I said earlier with the Isaiah West conversation, and you know this better than anybody, Zach, they're not going to make an accident about how they line up, especially on 3 days where not just the media are watching, but, you know, 1,000 fans in all 3 days. If Jay Timmons is out there with the ones to start camp, there's a reason for that. And he's another guy that was, you know, summertime smoke. It's like, look out for this. It could happen. He's on the rise. And then the fire is Thursday, Friday, and Saturday being out there. So that, in terms of surprise, I think that might be the most notable of all of them, given how much returning talent there is in the secondary. If he's out there on day one, which it does look like he will be on September 5th, that's not easy. That's a lot of pressure to go play that position. We know how important it is in today's era of college football to have a nickel who is just as skilled in coverage as they are coming up to support against the run. It looks like Jay Timmons can do that, man.
I love it. That's a hot take. In Austin, I will back you up. That is a 3-day into camp hot take. So if everyone wants to give you like September 5th, like, where's this? 3 days in the camp hot take. But I had to get a hot take out of you.
All right, you did it. And now we'll roll into the rest of the week. I'm sure Bobby and Jay-Z will have some hot takes at the live show later on today. We know Burn will have that as this week rolls along. We'll be back in the Woody Hayes Athletic Center midweek. Multiple days of interviews coming your way with the Buckeyes as well. And then we'll be back next Monday with another Bourne Blitz with Captain Zach Bourne. For Zach, I'm Austin Ward. Thanks for joining us on The Beat, presented by The Waterworks. We'll catch you later.